People are moving up and down the cobbled street.
All the women are out this morning in the sun. You can tell it's spring. There goes Mrs. Cherry. You can tell her by her hooves. Off she trots, new as a daisy. Who's that talking by the pump? Mrs. Floyd and Boyle talking flatfish. Now what can you talk about flatfish? And that's Mrs. Diebread 1, waltzing up the street like a jelly. Every time she shakes, it's slap, slap, slap. Who's that? Mrs. Butcher Bynum with her pet black cat. Follows her everywhere, meow and all. Oh, there goes Mrs. 23. Important. The sun gets up and goes down in her dewlap. When she shuts her eyes, it's night. High heels now, in the morning too. Mrs. Rose Cottage's eldest, May, 17 and never been kissed, ho-ho, going young and milking under my window to the field with the nanny goats. She reminds me all the way. Can't hear what the women are gabbing round the pump? Well, same as ever. Who's having a baby? Who black? Who's I? Seen Polly Gotter giving her belly an airing? There should be a law. Seen Mrs. Bynum's new mauve jumper? It's her old grey jumper dyed. Who's dead? Who's dying? There's a lovely day. Oh, the cost of soap flakes. Morgan's at it early. You can tell it's spring.
And he hears the noise of milk cans.
Ocky milkman on his round. I will say this, his milk's as fresh as the dew. Ah, dew it is. Snuffle on, Ocky, watering the town. Oh, somebody's coming. Now the voices round the pump can see somebody's coming. Hush! There's a hush. You can tell by the noise of the hush. It's Polly Gotter. Hello, Polly, who's there?
Me, love.
That's Polly Gotter. Hello, Polly, my love.
Can you hear the dumb goose hiss of the wives as they huddle and peck, or flounce at a waddle away? Who cuddled you when? Which of their gandering hubbies moaned in milkwood, for your naughty mothering arms and body like a wardrobe love? Scrub the floors of the welfare hall for the Mothers' Union social dance. Your one mother won't wriggle her roly-poly bum or pat her fat little buttery foot in that wedding-ringed holy tonight, though the waltzing breadwinners snatched from the cozy smoke of the sailor's arms will grizzle and mope.
A cock crows.
Too late, cock, too late.
For the town's half over with its mourning. The morning's busy as bees.
There's the clip-clop of horses on the sun-honeyed cobbles of the humming streets, hammering of horseshoes, gobble, quack, and cackle, tom-tit-twitter from the bird-ounce boughs, braying on donkey down. Bread is baking, pigs are grunting, chop goes the butcher, milk churns bell, tills ring, sheep cough, dogs shout, saws sing. Oh, the spring whinny and morning moo from the clog dancing farms. The gulls gab and rabble on the boat-bobbing river and sea, and the cockles bubbling in the sand. Scamper of sonderlings, curlew cry, crow caw, pigeon coo, clock strike, bull bellow, and the ragged gabble of the slovenly bear garden school as the women scratch and babble in Mrs. Organ Morgan's general shop, where everything is sold. Custard, buckets, henna, rat traps, cenopods, shrimp nets, sugar, stamps, confetti, paraffin, hatchets, whistles.
Mrs. Osmore Pritchard
La-di-da.
got a man in built well.
And he got a little telescope to look at birds.
Willy-nilly said.
Remember her first husband? He didn't need a telescope.
He looked at them undressing through the keyhole.
And he used to shout, "Tally-ho!"
But Mr. Osmore was the proper gentleman.
Even though he hanged his colleague.
See Mrs. Butcher Bynum.
She said Butcher Bynum puts dogs in the mincer.
Oh, go on, he's pulling a leg.
Now, don't you dare tell her that there's a dear.
Or she'll think he's trying to pull it off and eat it.
I It's a nasty lot live here when you come to think.
Look at that no-good boy now.
Too lazy to wipe his snout.
And going out fishing every day, and all he ever brought back was a Mrs. Samuels.
Been in the water a week.
And look at Ocky Milkman's wife that nobody's ever seen.
He keeps her in the cupboard with the empties.
And think of dye bread with 2 wives.
One for the daytime, one for the night.
Men are brutes on the quiet.
And how's Morgan, Mrs. Morgan?
You look dead beat.
It's organ all the time with him. Up every night until midnight playing the organ.
Oh, I'm a martyr to music.
Outside, the sun springs down on the rough and tumbling town. It runs through the hedges of Gusgog Lane, cuffing the birds to sing. Spring whips scream down Cockle Row, and the shells ring out. Llanrhegub, this snip of a morning, is wild fruit and warm, the streets, fields, sands, and waters springing in the young sun.
Thomas the Deaf presses hard, with black gloves on the coffin of his breast, in case his heart jumps out.
Where's your dignity? Lie down.
Spring stirs Gossamer Bynum, schoolmistress, like a spoon.
Oh, what can I do? I'll never be refined if I twitch.
Spring, this strong morning, foams in a flame in Jack Black as he cobbles a high-heeled shoe for Mrs. Diebread, too, the gypsy. But he hammers it sternly out.
There is no leg belonging to the foot that belongs to this shoe.
The sun and the green breeze shift Captain Cat sea memory again.
No, I'll take the mulatto. By God, who's captain here? Parlez-vous jig-jig, madame?
Mary Ann Sailors says very softly to herself as she looks out at Llanrhegub Hill from the bedroom where she was born.
It is spring in Llanrhegub, in the sun, in my old age. And this is the chosen land.
And in willy-nilly the postman's dark and sizzling, damp, tea-coated, misty, pygmy kitchen where the spitting cat kettles throb and hop on the range, Mrs. Willy-nilly steams open Mr. Mogg Edwards's letter to Miss Lizanwe Price and reads it aloud to willy-nilly by the squint of the spring sun through the one-sealed window running with tears, while the drugged, bedraggled hens at the back door whimper and snivel for their licorice bog-black teeth.
From Manchester House, Llanrhegub, sole prop, Mr. Mogg Edwards, late of Bryn Hyfryd, linen draper, haberdasher, master tailor, costumier for West End negligee, lingerie, tea gowns, evening dress, trousseau layette, also ready to wear for all occasions, economical outfitting for agricultural employment, our specialty, wardrobes bought. Among our satisfied customers, ministers of religion and JPs, fittings by appointment, advertising weekly in the Bryn Hyfryd Bugle. Beloved M'Fanwy Price, my bride in heaven.
I love you until death do us part, and then we shall be together forever and ever. A new parcel of ribbons has come from Carmarthen today, all the colours in the rainbow. I wish I could tie a ribbon in your hair, a white one, but it cannot be. I dreamed last night you were all dripping wet and you sat in my lap as the Reverend Jenkins went down the street. I see you got a mermaid in your lap, he said, and he lifted his hat. He's a proper Christian.
Not like Cherry Owen, who said you should have thrown her back, he said.
Business is very poorly. Polly Goddard bought 2 garters with roses, but she never got stockings, so what's the use, I say. Butcher Bynum bought a check cap to go badgering, he said. Mr. Waldo tried to sell me a woman's nightie outsized. He said he found it, and we know where. I sold a packet of pins to Tom the Sailors to pick his teeth. If this goes on, I shall be in the poorhouse. My heart is in your bosom, and yours is in mine. God be with you always, M'Fanwy Price, and keep you lovely for me in his heavenly mansion. I must stop now and remain your eternal Mogg Edwards.
And then a little message with a rubber stamp, shop at Mogg's.
And willy-nilly, rumbling jockeys out again to the 3-seated shack called the House of Commons in the back where the hens weep, and sees in sudden springshine
Herring gulls heckling down to the harbor, where the fishermen spit and prop the morning up, and I the fishy sea smooth to the sea's end, as it lulls in blues. Green and gold money, tobacco, tinned salmon, hats with feathers, pots of fish paste, warmth for the winter to be, weave and leap in it, rich and slippery in the flash and shapes of fishes through the cold sea streets. But with blue, lazy eyes, the fishermen gaze at that milk-mild, whispering water, with no ruck or ripple, as though it blew great guns and serpents and typhooned the town.
Too rough for fishing today.
And they thank God, and God but a gull for luck, and moss slow and silent make their way uphill from the still, still sea towards the sailor's arms, as the children
stank and scamper, rough and singing, out of school into the draggle-tail yard. And Captain Cat at his window says soft to himself the words of their song.
Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail kept their baby in a milking pail. Flossie Snail and Johnny Crack, one would pull it out and one would put it back. Oh, it's my turn now, said Flossie Snail, to take the baby from the milking pail. And it's my turn now, said Johnny Crack, to smack it on the head and put it back. Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail kept their baby in a milking pail. One would put it back and one would pull it out, and all it had to drink was ale and stout, for Johnny Crack and Flossie Snail always used to say that stout and ale was good for a baby in a milking pail.
The music of the spheres is heard distinctly over Milkwood. That music is the rustle of spring.
A glee party sings in Bethesda graveyard, gay but muffled.
Vegetables make love above the tenor.
And the dogs bark blue in the face.
Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard belches in a teeny hanky and chases the sunlight with a fly whisk. But even she cannot drive out the spring. From one of the finger bowls, a primrose grows.
Mrs. Diebread 1 and Mrs. Diebread 2 are sitting outside their house in Donkey Lane, one darkly, one plumply blooming in the quicky, dewy sun. Mrs. Diebread 2 is looking into a crystal ball, which she holds in the lap of her dirty yellow petticoat, hard against her hard, dark thighs.
Cross my palm with silver out of the housekeeping money.
Ah, what do you see, lovey?
I see a feather bed with 3 pillows on it, and a text above the bed. I can't read what it says. There's great clouds blowing. How they've blown away. God is love, the text says.
That's our bed.
Now it's vanished. The sun's spinning like a top. Who's this coming out of the sun? It's a hairy little man with big pink lips. He's got a wall eye.
It's Diebread.
The bed's floating back. The little man's taking his boots off. He's pulling his shirt over his head. He's beating his chest with his fists. He's climbing into bed.
Go on, go on.
There's 2 women in bed. He looks at them both with his head cocked on one side. He's whistling through his teeth. Now he grips his little arms round one of the women.
Which one? Which one?
I can't see anymore. There's great clouds blowing again.
Oh, the mean old clouds.
The morning is all singing. The Reverend Eli Jenkins, busy on his morning calls, stops outside the welfare hall to hear Polly Garter as she scrubs the floors for the Mothers' Union dance tonight.
I loved a man whose name was Tom. He was strong as a bear and 2 yards long. I loved a man whose name was Dick. He was big as a barrel and 3 feet thick. And I loved a man whose name was Harry, 6 feet tall and sweet as a cherry. But the one I loved best, awake or asleep, was little Willie Wee,
and he's 6 feet deep. Oh, Tom, Dick, and Harry were 3 fine men, and I'll never have such lovin' again. But little Willie Wee, who took me on his knee, little Willie Weasel was the man for me. Now men from every parish round run after me and roll me on the ground. But whenever I love another man back, Johnny from the hill or Sailing Jack, I always think as they do what they please, Tom, Dick, and Harry, who are tall as trees. But most I think, when I'm by their side, of little Willie Wee, who drowned and died. Oh, Tom, Dick, and Harry were 3 fine men, and I'll never have such lovin' again. But little Willie Wee, who took me on his knee, little Willie Weasel is the man for me.
Praise the Lord, we are a musical nation. And the Reverend Jenkins hurries on through the town to visit the sick with jelly and pearls.
The town's as full as a lovebird's egg.
There goes the Reverend.
There's Mr. Waldo at the smoked herring-brown window of the Unwashed Sailor's Arms.
With his brolly and his oaths. Fill 'em up, Sinbad, I'm on the treacle today.
The silent fishermen flush down their pints.
Oh, Mr. Waldo,
Sigh Sinbad, sailors.
I dote on that gossamer Bynum.
Love sings the spring. The dread spring grass bounces under birds' bums and lambs.
And Gossamer Bynum, school teacher, spoon-stirred and quivering, teaches her Slubbity-Gullion class.
It was the lover and his horse with a hay and how and hay and
No, your excellence, children. It was a lover and his left with a he and a who and a he, none knew.
Oh, Mr. Waldo,
Says Sinbad, sailor.
she's a lady all over.
And Mr. Waldo, who is thinking of a woman soft as Eve and sharp as sciatica to share his bread pudding bed, answers,
No lady that I know is.
And if only Grandma died, cross my heart, I'd go down on my knees, Mr. Waldo, and I'd say, Miss Gossamer, I'd say,
When birds do sing, a ding-a-ding-a-ding, sweet lovers love the spring.
Polly Garter sings, still on her knees.
Tom, Dick, and Harry were 3 fine men, and I'll never have such
Ding-a-ding.
again.
and the morning school is over, and Captain Cat at his curtained schooner's porthole open to the spring sun tides, hears the naughty, forfeiting children tumble and rhyme on the cobbles.
Gwenny called the boys, they make such a noise.
Boys, 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 come along to me.
Boys, 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 kiss Gwenny where she says, or give her a penny. Go on, Gwenny.
Kiss me in Goose Gog Lane or give me a penny. What's your name?
Billy?
Kiss me in Goose Gog Lane, Billy, or give me a penny, silly.
Gwenny, Gwenny, I kiss you in Goose Gog Lane. Now I haven't got to give you a penny.
Boys, 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 kiss Gwenny where she says, or give her a penny. Go on, Gwenny.
Kiss me on the leg of hill or give me a penny. What's your name?
Johnny Christo.
Kiss me on the leg of hill, Johnny Christo, or give me a penny, mister.
Gwenny, Gwenny, I kiss you on Loreg of Hill, now I haven't got to give you a penny.
Boys, 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 kiss Gwenny where she says, or give her a penny. Go on, Gwenny.
Kiss me in Milkwood or give me a penny. What's your name?
Dickie?
Kiss me in Milkwood, Dickie, or give me a penny, quickly.
Gwenny, Gwenny, I can't kiss you in Milkwood
Gwenny asked him why.
Why?
because my mother said I mustn't.
Cowdy, cowdy, custard, give Gwenny a penny.
Give me a penny.
I haven't got any.
Put him in the river, up to his liver. Quick, quick, dirty Dick, beat him on the butt with a rhubarb stick. Aye!
And the shrill girls giggle and master around him and squeal as they clutch and thrash, and he blubbers away downhill with his patched pants falling, and his tear-splashed blush burns all the way as the triumphant bird-like sisters scream with buttons in their claws, and the bully brothers hoot after him his little nickname, and his mother's shame, and his father's wickedness, with the loose, wild, barefoot women of the hovels of the hills. It all means nothing at all, and howling for his milky mum, for her cow and buttermilk and cow breath, and Welsh cakes, and the fat birth-smelling bed and moonlit kitchen of her arms. He'll never forget as he paddles blind home through the weeping end of the world. Then his tormentors tussle and run to the Cockle Street sweet shop, their pennies sticky as honey, to buy for Miss Mavanway Price, who is cocky and neat as a puff-bosomed robin, and her small round buttocks tight as ticks, gobstoppers big as wens that rainbow as you suck, humbugs, wine gums, a hot pen'orth of brandy balls, hundreds and thousands, liquorous sweet as sick, tooth-loosening toffee of tar, nugget to tug and ribbon out like another red rubbery tongue, gum to glue in girls' curls, crimson cough drops to spit blood, stale bags of black-boiled marbles, ice cream cornets, dandelion and burdock, raspberry and cherryade, pop goes the weasel and the wind. Gossamer Bynum, high heels out of school. The sun hums down through the cotton flowers of her dress into the bell of her heart, and buzzes in the honey there, and couches and kisses, lazy loving and boozed, in her red-berried breast. Eyes run from the trees and windows of the streets steaming gossamer, and strip her to the nipples and the beads. She blazes naked past the sailor's arms, the only woman on the diademed earth. Sinbad sailors, places on her thighs, still dew-damp from the first man-growing cockcrow garden, his reverent goat-bearded hand.
I don't care if he is common.
She whispers to her salad-day deep self.
I want to gobble him up. I don't care if he does drop his H's.
She tells the stripped and mother of the world, big-beamed and eve-hipped spring of herself.
So long as he's all cucumber and hooves.
Sinbad sailors watches her go by, demure and proud and school-mom, in her crisp flowered dress and sun-defying hat, with never a look or lilt or wriggle, the butcher's unmelting ice-maiden daughter, veiled forever from the hungry hug of his eyes.
Oh, Gossamer Bynum, why are you so proud?
He grieves to his Guinness.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful Gossamer Bee. I wish you weren't so educated.
She feels his goat beard tickle her in the middle of the world, like a tuft of wiry fire, and she turns in a terror of delight, away from his whips and whiskery conflagration, and sits down in the kitchen to a plate heaped high with chips